Hey, what's up YouTube? Welcome to my review of this knife. This is the Jeo-Tec Model 37, made in Spain. Alright, and you are at the We All Juggle Knives channel, by the way. Alright, the steel on this is MV58, a proprietary stainless steel with a double heat treat. Yes, and it's got micarta handle scales, full tang construction. Right, red liners. It's got an extended tang with a lanyard hole and an impact point as well. And it also has a thumb rest with some jimping on it. Now the blade length on this is 6 1/2 inches. And as you can see, it's quite beat up. I have a lot of usage footage coming up in this video. All right, here's the literature that it arrived with, the social media of Jeo-Tec. Now, Jeo-Tec is actually a brand that is owned by the same company as CDS Survival. It comes with a symbol key there, pretty cool. But yeah, it's a new brand name, but you've seen these knives before, or knives like it from CDS. All right, here I am doing stuff with a knife. I'm scraping some bark off this piece of wood. I am going to be making a notch on this piece of wood. Yeah, sorry for any background noise, but I thought it important for you to hear the impacts. Now, usually I use a saw and a Swiss Army knife for those little grooves, but whatever, maybe you just want to carry one tool. And speaking of the one tool option, stuff like this is easier with, like, let's say a small whittling or woodworking knife. However, again, maybe you want to carry one mid-sized fixed blade that you just use for everything. So we're making a notch, very, very bushcrafty thing to do for building shelters, building traps, whatever you can dream up. Pretty straightforward. I'm just cleaning it up a bit. Yeah, but there you go. One of many types of notch. There's V-shaped notches. You can make round notches. This happens to have 90-degree angles. It's useful for a variety of things. So there you go, you can make a notch. Alright, more usage footage. Here I am carving with this. Now I typically use a small, hatchet for this type of stuff. But again, let's say you don't want to carry a hatchet. You can do a little carving with this knife. Now I sped this footage up a little just because, there's no use for 6 minutes of carving in the middle of the review. But you certainly get the idea, right? You can carve a spike. This is basically carving a tent stake type of thing. You can carve a spike. Now, if you just pretend that piece of wood was a longer piece of wood, essentially you're making a wooden spear. So there you go. For all your, anti-vampire needs or whatever nefarious purposes you would use your spike for. Whatever you need to carve. It doesn't have to be a spike, but that's one of the easiest things to carve. So, just for review purposes, yeah, you can carve with this knife, certainly. Here is the sheath the knife comes with. It's leather. Now, I have a lot more usage footage coming up, by the way. See the belt loop? This is horizontal or vertical carry, and it has a secondary pocket. It comes with a sharpening stone for touching up the edge in the field. Right, and it has a Ferro Rod, and we are going to demonstrate that very, very soon. Green striker. Now the sheath has a diagonal retaining strap, and it holds it in very securely. This is a pretty nice sheath. I mean, it's a nice old-timey leather sheath. It comes with accessories. I feel the sheath and accessories really do add some legit value, right, to this whole package. So good job on the sheath. All right, demonstrating the Ferro Rod. Now, we've had quite a lot of rain recently, and actually this first attempt was a fail. Yes, failure. But, that piece of bark, it was a little too soggy, right? But you can see it does throw some good sparks. All right, and the attempt number 2 was a success. That other piece of bark that I got, that was a little bit soggy too, but nonetheless, it was able to light. Right, so this thing definitely throws some good sparks. I mean, even with the bark being soggy there, it was able to light it. Right, so lessons learned. The spine of the knife is well sharp enough to be used as a striker on the Ferro Rod, and the Ferro Rod itself was very effective at throwing sparks. Yeah, there you see. Right, so I mean, a good and useful accessory. Now, one tip about any sort of bushcrafty video: fire is always a big hit. People do not tire of the fire. Wow, that rhymed. That was skilled rap right there. But yeah, oh, by the way, please observe proper fire safety. Okay, I've covered fire safety in other videos, so I'm not going to rehash it to death. But there you go. And that's just to show that I did, yes, I put the fire out completely. All right. But yeah, use common sense. Hey, it looks pretty badass with the, the fire, the ash marks on it. Pretty cool. All right, this is some footage from earlier. Before I did anything with the knife, I just wanted to establish how sharp it comes out of the box. Initial sharpness. This thing will slice paper like a delica. It was seriously sharp. Speaking of sharp, here I am making some shavings. Now, because I had the birch bark, I didn't really need some shavings to start a fire, but if you didn't have the bark, you could make some shavings, or you could make a feather stick. You know, some wood is better than others for feather sticking, and I'm just using some old scrap wood that I had from the batoning. But nonetheless, this thing is pretty good at making shavings. You know, I have no doubt you can use this to process material to start a fire. Yes, and some of those are paper thin, as I shall show. Yeah, just showing this thing's capable of making like paper thin curlicues, and that's just a testament to that they did the edge correctly. Yeah, very good. Okay, coming up, prepare for extreme violence. All right, we got some batoning, yes, and there were many, many knots in this batch of wood. That wood didn't want to give itself up. Check out that. You see that knot there? You know? Hey, it just makes the test better. This is a stress test for a knife. Again, see that knot there? But yeah, hitting it like a caveman. Now keep in mind, in my experience, the best way to split wood is with a hatchet. And if you don't have a hatchet, another way is with a very, very heavy, thick machete from Thailand or Malaysia. All right. And aside from that, the next best way is a very thick, long, heavy knife like an Essie Hunglas. It helps if it has a pronounced bevel, you know, a chunky, like a saber grind, right? So a knife like this, like a mid-sized knife that's has the flat grind, fairly thin, you know, this is not the ideal type of blade for splitting wood, right? Look at all those knots, dude. There's like knots in every single piece. However, you know, I'm not trying to teach you how to split wood. What I'm trying to do is show you that this knife can take some abuse. Yes, that's major punishment, the club that I use to beat knives silly. Right? So as a splitting tool, it's not my first choice. However, as a knife that can take a lot of abuse, it did really well. You know, this knife is over $100. People want to know that it can take a pounding, and it did. Stabbing. Yeah, just stabbing, and I'm going to stress out the tip from side to side as well. Now, I don't know how strong you think I am or how hard you think I can stab into a piece of wood, but I don't know, I just felt that I should put some wear and tear on the tip. And there you see, going from side to side. Let's try to break the tip. Now, I never try to break something on purpose. I always, you know, try to push it to the edge of its limits. I also just wailed on the log of truth just to stress out the edge. Now, this is not an axe. It's not going to chop through a log of such diameter, and that's not my intention. I simply want you to know that this thing can take some use or abuse. All right, here I am just bending it sideways more. Now, you know, I wanted to see, would the tip bend or would the tip like spring back into place like it should? Right? That's an important thing to know. You want to spend your hard-earned money on a knife. You want to know its limits. And it survived really well. It did not bend, you can see there. It didn't bend at all. You know, pretty good. All right, here's a size and shape comparison with two other knives that, again, these are different brands, but it's all the same company, right? So these knives are all sold by the same company. They all use the same steel. They're all made in Spain. They all have micarta handle scales, right? So, you know, the parent company, they make some good stuff. That lower knife is a CDS survival knife. I will include a link to my video review of that knife. Very nice, smaller fixed blade. The topmost knife is the CDS Survival Combat 1. I have not reviewed that as of yet. I feel it's a little overpriced right now, but I guess there's a coolness factor that's fueling that. But I will include the product listing, and you can look up its stats and so forth. Right, so this company makes some good stuff. All right, final thoughts and conclusions on this knife. And wow, if you've stuck with the video this long, you've most likely already formed your opinion of this knife and whether you like it and whether you would find it useful for your needs, all right? One of the reasons I like to include a lot of action is because I don't have to say anything super wise or profound. People can see what it is, what it's capable of. But are there any surprises? Was there any secret thing that was bad or wrong with this knife? Not at all. Beautiful flybys, close-ups for you. This was a very good knife. I definitely feel that it's worth the price. Last time I checked, the price was about $105. That could go up or down. But I feel it was definitely worth that. I mean, it survived very well in a gauntlet of tests. All right, and now one thing I did, I just cleaned it off with some soap and warm water and a sponge. This is after the use, right? You saw the marks that used to be on it. I cleaned up, you know, the ash marks from the striking the ferro rod and all that, the bark stains from pounding it through the pieces of wood. Looks good as new. There's a lot of small scratches if you really looked closely, but this thing took a licking and kept on ticking, basically. I really like the knife. I think it's a winner. I highly recommend it. As a camp knife, this thing would be excellent. It's almost too good to be one. I mean, you know, for a camp knife, there's $30 Gerbers that would serve, but if you want something really, really well made, really nice, as a bushcraft knife, sure. I mean, it depends what type of grind you like and what, you know, if you prefer a different length blade, then, you know, there's nothing I can do. But in its category for its length, very nice. Would soldiers like it? I'm not sure. I think for some tasks, for some duties, right? So yeah, excellent knife. I will include links to this and the other promising looking models from this same company. Please try to use those Amazon links if you enjoy exhaustive reviews such as this. I hope you enjoyed this video. This has been We All Juggle Knives. I'm out.